JARScast.
Okay, well, Switch 2 dropped.
It sure
Yay.
did.
Dude,
It sure did.
I was so hyped for Switch 2, and then they dropped it, and I was like, dude, this looks so good. And then they dropped the price, and I was like, oh, uh-oh.
I just thank God that, like, I can, like, I'm an adult, I can go on credit. I can go into debt if I want to.
No.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Let me
It's
go
not
on
worth it.
Klarna. Do it on Klarna.
But do you know what it is? What I've heard is that what is the price of the whole package?
Okay, so just for the Switch 2, it's $450. For Switch 2 and the Mario Kart game, like the bundle set, is $500. And then Mario Kart alone is $80.
That's fucked
Right.
up.
Which is higher than the like quote unquote new standard that people are already complaining about. That's $70.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just like, whoa.
But what
Whoa.
I've heard is that the Switch comes with, like, I forget what it's called, like not the console, but like the box. Like,
Yeah.
the box itself is like $100 apparently, because it
Interesting.
has like some crazy graphics cards. So like it itself is $100, and so because it comes with the package, the Switch itself is probably like more like $300, and they're like adding another $150
Wait.
because it comes with that.
Yeah,
Comes with-
yeah.
What are you talking
The God, I forget what it's called. Like the thing that you connect the Switch to so that you can plug it into stuff.
about? Oh, the dock?
The dock, sorry.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, the
Oh,
dock
wow, the
itself
dock.
can apparently
It has
stream.
like an enhancing graphics
yeah,
card thing?
it apparently can stream at 4K supposedly.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Maybe.
I mean,
don't know.
Steam Deck can kind of do that.
No, Steam
can't?
Deck goes to 1080.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the Switch's new resolution is 1080p on the portable mode, which was what it's. So the regular Switch can do portable mode 720 at like 30, 45 frames. I don't know if it goes up to 60.
Yeah.
And then when it's in dock, it's 60 frames, 1080p HD. That was its
Yeah.
max. The new one can do 1080p HD, 60 frames in portable mode. And I don't remember if they said if it was 4K.
That's what I've
It's
heard.
definitely better
Yeah.
than what it was
Yeah.
before. It might be like 2K.
But
Yeah.
1440p.
But supposedly that's the reason why it, like, the Switch price itself hasn't really increased that much. It's because the dock itself is like
Yeah.
way more buffed apparently, and therefore they've like jacked up the price because it comes in. You can't have
Right,
the
right.
Switch without the dock, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, the $80 cart is it's criminal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
for
the
real.
Switch itself, I'm not complaining about the price. $450, like it sort of seems like a lot, but then you like look at the other stuff that's like PS5 and Xbox, whatever the hell it's called. I don't remember the new one.
I kind of
What, they were like
what
they were
we're
like
on.
500, 550,
Yeah.
600 when they
Series
released.
X.
So Switch, first of
600,
all,
10 years
Yeah.
ago. So
yes, but that's when they released. So considering when the PS6 and
Yeah.
the Xbox, whatever they're gonna call it, like release in the next couple of days or next couple of years, sorry, next couple of years, they're probably gonna be like $600, $700. So comparing what those prices probably will be to what the Switch's price is right now, it makes sense in my opinion. My issue is the game carts.
Yeah,
Because there
yeah.
is no way in hell that $80 is an acceptable price for a game right
It's-
now. It's because the $70 jump was so recent. It's just too early to be charging more for whatever reason they might have for it, especially digital.
yeah.
There's no way.
It's super weird because, like, aren't they doing like a weird thing where like it's a one-time use on the card or something where you download the game and then you can basically throw away the cartridge or whatever?
What?
Like you plug it in, it downloads the game onto your system, and then the card is basically useless. Like you can't resell it at GameStop, I think.
I don't know. I didn't hear that. I didn't see that in the direct. Then again, I was not watching it very carefully.
I think it's one of the post things that they were talking about. I might be completely wrong about
I know that they were
this.
talking about like the digital versions having like where you can like switch it over to different consoles as long as they're under like the same family.
Interesting.
That was a
yeah.
thing, which I thought was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because the best part about physical, in my opinion, is that you can
Share.
take that disc or cartridge and send it to whatever console
You
and play
want.
it
Yeah.
wherever.
Right,
yeah.
right,
Whereas
right.
digital, you have it on the one thing, and you can't transfer it. And the whole point of that new thing that they're doing is that you can send it over to other consoles to play it there. But it is only if it's like under an account under like your family plan or whatever. So it's like not actually that useful.
Is it cheaper? Is the physical cheaper or more expensive than the digital?
It tends to be the same price.
So why would so it's kind of devil's advocate. Why would anyone prefer the digital then?
Because some people like to save on space and they don't like losing the physical thing.
I also think the box is pretty. I'm kind of like a physical guy where like
I'm also a physical guy.
I'm a
I think
guy.
all of us here are the type of people to care about physical media.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people like consider excuse me.
That was not on
Consider
purpose.
like a family of 5 where you have like a bunch of kids and you're going on a road trip.
Sure.
You don't want to have to deal with your kids with all their Switches and all their games and taking it everywhere. You'd rather just have the 1 or 2 Switches that just have the games in it that are just like fine. Because now you don't have to worry about your kids losing the tiny game cartridges or fucking eating them.
Yeah. I mean,
Or
they
doing some
made them
stupid
taste
crap.
bad on purpose to prevent that. Have you ever licked a Switch cartridge?
I licked it because it tasted bad. So
Same here.
What? Okay.
You
So
have to do
test
it-
failed
You have to
successfully.
do it at least once because it tastes like printer ink. It tastes
What
terrible.
the hell?
Okay,
No.
well, okay, pause. Yes, it tastes bad in like a funny way, but why do you know what printer ink tastes like?
I think I got on my fingers a few times.
And
like,
And
you
chose,
proceeded
you're like,
to lick
it seems
it?
I have printer ink
Yeah.
on my fingers. I don't want it there. Yum.
Yum.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm starting to realize why you have such strange nightmares. I think
Oh, yeah,
I think they're fueled.
Yeah,
by the printer ink.
I think it's literally giving me like slight brain damage. I'm pretty sure. I think sucking all the ink
Are-
from.
are you
You're
okay?
just like
Do you
licking
need
lead
help?
paint off your hands.
We're learning every time we do one of these episodes. This
We're learning a
new
little bit more
lore
about you.
drop just like
I mean,
comes out of nowhere, and we're like,
Like,
Catherine,
so
are
I
you,
eat
are you
printer
okay?
ink, by the way. Huh?
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 I mean, I also know what gasoline tastes like.
Why are you drinking
Oh,
gasoline?
okay.
Please tell me.
I'm about to say I'm one of those weirdos who's like kind of
No.
who kind of likes the way it smells.
I do like the way.
Like
it
some people
smells.
find like the way
It is
gasoline smells.
Poisonous.
No,
Mm.
but it's just like a very interesting smell. So you're just like,
yeah, it's
huh.
the smell of poison,
Well, people
Yeah.
drink alcohol.
not
So-
gasoline.
Pe- I mean,
Look, man.
it's.
know
I
what to tell
think
you.
I'm not sure if it's like it's been so pungent that I can taste it in my mouth, like I can smell it, and then it goes down into my mouth or
Okay,
what.
I don't know about that, but there is
I'll
a
be
significant
breathing in just like
There's a significant group of people who are like, I don't think it smells bad. I just think it smells kind of interesting. But tasting it is like a completely different thing.
I'm not sure how that happened to me. Like how I got my brain knows what like gasoline tastes like. I'm not quite sure how that happened.
Well, there is like there is sort of like a weird thought experiment where you can usually look at something and know what it tastes like. Like I looking at the door to the studio room that we're in. It's like a wooden door. I've never licked this door before.
But you
I don't
know
go
what would taste like from other
Well,
experience.
Yeah, so
Like
it's like
buying a
similar
pencil.
experiences and then just like almost intuitive.
Okay, we're
gonna-
gonna
we're
move
just
past
gonna-
that one.
It's just like there's almost an intuitive like.
No, I
thing
can't. Sorry, you
in
said
your mind.
bite a pencil?
yeah.
Okay, a lot of kids did this.
I mean,
I did this.
Gnawing
where I
pencil.
chew on a
chew
pencil.
on pencil. This man is biting.
Okay, to be fair, I did that too.
Why? What are you guys doing?
I'm
Dude,
Well,
I just like
you did
making
not
the
bring
pencil.
lunch? What happened to you?
Okay, to be fair, I did not eat food usually at school because it was so bad.
So
The pencil was better.
Pencil was better than the school lunch.
At least I know it's made of natural
Yeah.
wood.
The reason I
and
know
not
what gasoline
synthetic.
the reason I know what gasoline tastes like is because I'm literally that girl that can transform. You know the anime where she takes the
Oh, Shoujo
Yeah.
Henshin?
yeah,
That-
where she drinks the gas straight from the pump or whatever.
Okay, I've seen that clip a million times. Is that from like an actual?
Yes.
Yeah, there's
It's an
anime?
actual anime,
there's
yes.
5
many-
of those shorts.
I've seen the shorts, but is there more to it than just those shorts?
Not really. I don't think so.
Are you sure? Is it not an actual anime?
It might be for
I
like.
could have sworn it's from like Shoujo Henshin or whatever.
I have no
I'm
idea.
pretty sure it's to promote figures.
Henshin is like transform or
It
something, right?
changed. Yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Henshin.
Henshin. I'll look it up.
Henshin.
I know that because I've heard that word like a million times in like those kids like Power Rangers esque shows,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Where they're always-
Super
yeah.
Sentai stuff.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I find it very interesting
Sorry,
that those shows.
Henkei Shoujo. Oh, wait, fuck.
Oh,
There's
he's figuring it out.
Henkei Shoujo, sorry, yes.
mhm.
But yeah, I find it very interesting that most of those shows are like bug themed, where like the heroes or like the villains are always like beetles or just some form of bug.
I mean, I think bugs are pretty cool as like a guy.
Yeah, no, they're cool, but it's just like it's just very interesting that they're always bugs.
Yeah.
Yes,
Also-
it is an actual anime. It is on my anime list.
But like,
It is.
how many
it's
episodes?
It's
how
on my
long?
any list.
I know it's there, but like, is there more to it than just the clips that have gone viral?
Like, is it meant to sell toys or?
I want those toys,
Yeah.
dude. Those would be insane.
No,
Yeah.
it might actually just be those 5. It's 1 minute per episode. Yeah,
Yeah,
It
okay.
actually might just be those 5 things then.
Why? I wonder why that's a thing that exists. Like, what could that be like promoting?
I mean,
Do you know what the licenses are? It's really funny.
No.
Ascendant animation.
Oh,
They're ascending.
they're definitely high on something.
yeah. Some some animation that makes you ascend.
Mm.
You look at them transform and you're like, oh. you right.
There's something in my mind has broken.
Yeah, you start floating towards heaven as soon as you finish watching the anime.
I think that's called dying.
Yeah, dying. I mean, it worked though. Like we talk about so much. Like I think about the anime constantly. Like more than it's just so fucking weird. It's like one of those things that you have to show when your friends at least once.
It's definitely one of those things that are kind of like a relic from like an era of anime that doesn't really exist anymore.
Yeah.
Like another show that I think is my favorite anime of all time. Inferno Cop.
Oh
That's
my god.
That's my favorite anime of all time. And if you've never seen it, please look up Inferno Cop and watch it because it's probably one of the greatest shows I've ever watched in my whole life.
Yeah.
Ever.
It's
You're welcome.
definitely for
Yeah.
like a bygone
Thank you.
era because like I showed people the thing they were just talking about recently.
What was it?
The anime girl transformation. It's like shoujo hinshin
Henkei Shoujo.
Henkei shoujo.
Yeah.
And like I showed it to some people and they were like grossed out by it just because of like the
What?
panty shot.
It is
stuff.
very
Oh.
uncanny. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that too, but it's definitely like almost purposefully in that uncanny CGI valley.
Yeah.
Also, it's a woman who transforms into a machine. So, it's a little unnerving the first time you watch it.
I think anyone transforming into a machine would be unnerving. Just
Yeah.
like the way that like their legs just turn into like
Yeah.
various
Yeah.
like, boat parts.
Yeah.
It's like, where did this come
yeah.
from?
Truly insane.
I love that it's a hard cut from like 2D to 3D.
Right.
Yeah.
How hard
No,
that
it's-
cut is, where it's like, here's this 3D monstrosity you did not ask to see.
It's wonderful. But yeah, anyways, Switch 2, we were talking about that.
I was
Oh,
about to
yeah,
say, like,
we
how
were.
the hell did we get here?
We're
I
talking
think
about gasoline.
that's the beauty,
Oh
that's
my
the
God,
beauty
yeah.
of podcasts where
That's
you
the
just
beauty of
you just keep
JARScast,
going.
yeah.
But yeah,
Anyway, let's talk about the JFK assassination.
Bro.
too soon, man, too soon. It was like a few decades ago.
Come on,
But,
man.
$80.
Yeah, $80.
Is it worth?
So here's the thing.
Say no.
No, it's not worth it. Okay, first, that's not what I was thinking about. That's not what I was thinking about.
Like, say no right now.
It's weird because the bundle is with that $80 game. The bundle makes it $50 because it's $450 for the Switch, $500 for that game and the Switch.
That's how they get you.
What I'm curious about is that $80 price tag going to be like for other games too? Like one of my favorite games that they showed was a DK Donkey Kong game.
That looked great, yeah.
It looked incredible. I think it's like Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Yeah.
Looks really, really fun. What I want to know is that going to be an $80 game? Because it's a mainline Nintendo title, like Mario Kart
I think it is
World?
very likely they're all going to be
Because
80.
if they're all
Yeah,
$80,
probably.
then yeah, this is incredibly fucked. It's
That
not
is
worth it.
but just what the price is now.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm just so
Supposedly.
confused.
yeah.
Yeah, but I've seen a lot of discourse reappear as it usually does whenever this sort of thing happens about piracy. And I this is one of the first times where I've been like, yeah, I'm sorry, but it is correct to pirate these games at this point. I understand both sides. I usually am anti-piracy when it comes to video games.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly
To a certain point,
whenever it's
yeah.
like indie and AA games. AAA, I don't care.
Mhm.
And especially like retro games that you can't play
Yeah.
on modern consoles because they just refuse to re-release it and do whatever. Yeah, pirate those all you want. But Nintendo has always been in an interesting spot to me because I've always given them sort of the benefit of the doubt because I don't know. Part of it's just nostalgia. I've been a Nintendo fanboy longer than I've liked anime.
Yeah.
So,
Same here.
that part of it's that. But I've also just viewed them as a relatively reputable company. They're not afraid to innovate and try weird things and make good games and release products that are finished. Not looking at Pokemon because
Yeah, except for Pokemon, that stays in the corner.
I find it rare whenever I see like Nintendo make like an almost malicious fuck up. Like they've messed up plenty of times in the past, but it's not because they've made like a greedy decision. It's usually like a Wii U where they tried to innovate in a way that just was not the right direction, which is fine, But the $80 games, I don't see a single way in which this is not just chasing
Do you
money.
know what the funnier part is?
What?
Is that there's two versions of the Switch, right? There's the normal version where you pay $80, and then there's the region locked one.
Yeah.
Like the Japanese one.
The Japanese,
Whereas
that's
the
crazy thing. The games are like correctly priced. They're like $60.
Right.
So the question is that like you're paying if it's region locked, or if it's not region locked, you're actually paying $20 extra on every game that you purchase.
Yeah, and this is for every Switch outside Japan.
Because there's shipping for digital games.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what the logic is.
You guys don't understand the process our digital games have to go through. It takes our servers like one watt extra to process this order because it's coming from so far away.
There is you can the only rationale I can give it is that like the cost of living in Japan is like much less. The average salary in Japan is much less, and so maybe they're trying to adjust for that because like on average the average American is making more than the average Japanese. In that way, but I really don't like that argument.
Yes, but it's also not America. It's every Switch outside
every
Japan,
Switch, exactly,
including places with
like,
lower cost of living than Japan.
Right. Yes.
So it's like that argument just doesn't even track.
I think I agree with you. Like I think that the Switch 2 being priced where it's at, I think that's fair.
The console itself.
Yeah, the console itself.
I don't have many complaints about that.
Yeah, but I think $80 for a Nintendo game, like I love Nintendo, but like I feel like they're still punching below a AAA game, and I feel like they shouldn't be charging AAA prices for something that's like a few console generations behind. Like they definitely specialize in fun over anything, but like I feel like they're still operating at the same kind of quality. They shouldn't pay. We should be paying for kind of the same product.
They always have been punching below their weight class in a way that's like. At no point has Nintendo, after like the N64 era, been like the cutting edge of like
gaming technology.
Right.
The more stereotypical technologies of like graphics or just like raw processing power, the size of games, that sort of thing. Which in the beginnings was just like they just kind of didn't design their console well. I'm sorry, I love the GameCube. I love everything about it, but it kind of sucked.
No, I love it.
Like, why wouldn't they just use full-size CDs? Why did they make small CDs that are proprietary to the console that were smaller and shittier?
Sized.
No, it's dumb.
They really want you to walk around with your GameCube like this, like a lunchbox.
But at the same time, what they lack in like raw power, they have innovated like controllers. GameCube controller, greatest controller of all time. I will die on that hill. Wii controller had its kinks, but my God, it was a completely different beast to any gaming console that came before or really came since.
Yeah.
That is why I still have a Wii, because no other console can capture the Wii games like the Wii can.
Yeah,
because you have to have the funny motion control wand.
Yeah.
Wii U, definitely a mistake.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But
it's definitely
they tried interesting things with the screen, and occasionally it was actually kind of well done. occasionally, not really. With their handhelds, Nintendo has always dominated handhelds because the only thing that existed that weren't Nintendo were like the PSP and PS Vita.
Which
PSP was great.
I love the Vita. I had a Vita,
Vita
and I used
was-
it a lot more than my 3DS, I have to say.
Yeah. Well, aside from like they were more popular in Japan for sure, but they were just kind of like a regular console, but you have it in your hands. Whereas Nintendo has always focused on making their handhelds like kind of weird. Like
Yeah.
Game Boys were just like the first ones, so they didn't really have much interesting. And then the DS had literally dual screen, had two screens. The 3DS had the 3D thing that nobody ever used.
Right.
Right.
Like,
Excuse me.
it is really interesting. I think that they're talking about the price of the Switch maybe even going up because of all the tariffs. Like, they pushed back the pre-order date for Switches.
Yeah, they delayed the release.
Yeah.
And
because
I've
of
heard
tariffs.
Yeah. I'll finish up what I was saying.
Mm.
Nintendo has always focused on making their products, their like consoles, innovative in like a creative way rather than just like a a raw power way.
Mm.
And that's also how they usually kept their prices lower than the competitors because they ended up using cheaper like hardware in unique forms. And that's why the Switch was so cheap, was because it was using like really comparatively kind of shitty internals.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in return, you received a hybrid console that had never been done before. And that's why it sold better than everyone else, because it was just like it's playing its own game.
It's very marketable for like
For families,
all
kids,
ages groups. Yeah.
people on the go. It's just like kind of a perfect console.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, tariffs. That I think is like the one thing that I was like, maybe that's the reason for the $80 game. But like,
That is also country specific.
yeah, it is country specific, so it doesn't. It also fails to reach like to explain why it's like that for every other place on the globe.
Mm.
And also,
Japan's like what other country?
digital games are
Right.
not
Yeah.
affected
Yeah,
by
yeah, yeah,
tariffs
yeah.
because they're not real.
Yeah, that's like the worst thing ever. The most egregious thing is like paying market value for a digital game that has it doesn't really cost anything to distribute it to you. Like, it's not like you have to make a case for it. You have to make a disc for it or a cartridge or anything.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean,
You're still paying the same price.
To be fair, that has been industry standard.
Mm.
But yeah, that just
but
helps to prove
even
the fact
though
that the
it's-
tariff thing is not true.
But even though it is industry standard, that's part
I
of
don't like it.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's part of
I
a
still think it's
broader pattern that we see across platforms where things that used to be physical that you could own are no longer ownable. But you go from Adobe Suite of being a physical thing you could have permanently on your computer to, what is it, a yearly subscription? The cloud of a yearly subscription, $20 per Adobe software.
Of which I am unfortunately using to record this.
Right. And so if you want the whole suite, it's like $400, $500 per year.
Yeah, every year,
Every year.
forever,
Forever. No,
until
sorry,
it gets worse.
Sorry, I'm lying. It's $20 per month, I think, isn't it? It's actually more
Something like
expensive.
For what?
For like individual Adobe products. Like if I have Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Light.
Oh yeah, if you're paying
I think
just
it's
for like the one
35.
thing, it's so what I pay for is like more expensive, but it's for everything.
Okay.
Right.
Wait.
I can't remember. It might be like $50 a month, which is insane.
But what
Yeah,
is that?
yeah.
50 a month times 12, 600. That is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Crazy. Bonkers.
you could pay
Yeah.
what was it, like $1,000 in the past and get everything. It was it
Forever.
was a really big price, but it was one time and you just have it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, the switch to subscription, all online, digital, at first seemed like a step towards the future, where it's like we don't have to worry about the inconvenience of physical media. And now, like 20 years later, we're sitting here like, I miss the inconvenience of physical media.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come back.
Imagine owning something.
Yeah.
True. It's
You
crazy.
will own nothing. You will eat the bugs. You
Yeah,
will live in your pod,
exactly.
and you will be
I'm
happy.
pretty
Enjoy
sure
your
we've had this
pod.
conversation.
We
Yeah.
have. We definitely have.
Like
Yeah.
I think that I think what's gonna happen is that might bite Nintendo really hard, because I feel like that cranking it up to that price is going to make it so unattainable for their age demographic because they trying to appeal very much to kids, and you're not going to get a parent to pay $80 for a video game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just kind of have to consider a lot of Nintendo's customer base is like
Reddit.
I mean,
Bro.
I was
I'm
about to say
joking, I'm joking, I'm-
like older people. So yes, but like
Just, damn it.
like yes, kids, but also teenagers and young adults and like millennials at this point.
Mm.
Like their customer base is no longer just kids.
We have
It is a
grown up.
major. It is a literally. It is a major demographic, but it is unfortunate. Their target audience are people who don't have money. It is kids whose parents are already paying out their ass to take care of their kids. So,
Right.
you know, not a lot of money there. And then young adults, we're all fucking poor.
True, yeah.
So we also can't afford it. And then like millennials who just bought like their $5 bajillion house. It's like
Mm.
we're cutting back on our bills. So, you know, their target audience are all poor.
Yeah.
So they're probably going to see, and unfortunately for them, their target audience is also the most like digitally literate. So they're pretty good at pirating things
Mhm.
and
Right.
getting around like paying for things online.
Mhm.
So I can almost guarantee that they're going to take a massive hit, both in like sales and also just reputation. Which I mean, they already have taken a big hit in reputation.
Mhm.
I'm just curious if they will actually take the price back and change it or
No,
not.
Nintendo, they will never do that.
They never look. Nintendo is weird. They do not do discounts. They do not change their prices, but they do occasionally respond to insane, like massive amounts of customer backlash. Occasionally, when it's really bad.
I feel
So
like
I don't know.
we had that last generation though where people
Like the
were
Joy-Con
up-
thing.
Yeah, the Joy. That's what I was about to say.
okay.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
everybody was like, "Hey, our Joy-Cons are fucking up immediately after buying them, or like a few months or a couple of years."
Yeah.
And so they made the system where you send them back and they get them repaired for free or whatever.
right.
If you can't tell, I'm sick today.
If you can't tell, all of us are sick.
Yeah,
Yeah, not me though. I'm a healthy boy.
not for long.
Dude,
Yeah.
Focus on
Ca-
you.
no, Catrim is healthy because of all the gasoline and all the
True.
other random
Yeah,
stuff.
your
he's been
immune
consuming.
system is invincible.
His dude, when the man like COVID fears him. Okay, COVID hunts everyone else, but when COVID sees Cat Dream, it runs.
It's like the
Yeah,
you're like
it's-
the doom guy for illnesses.
It's the immunity.
Yeah.
You drink enough gasoline, you get immunity. But like
I ate enough lead paint in my time. COVID ain't got nothing on me.
yeah. One other thing about the Switch, I heard that prices are only going to go up because like I heard from the rumor mill that GTA 6 is
That
going to
means
be
Twitter.
$100.
What?
What?
GTA 6 is rumored to be $100.
Okay, I've seen this. I've only ever heard people saying it as like a joke. Like, man, if Mario Kart's 80, I bet GTA 6 is.
I
gonna
would not
like
be
100.
surprised though.
But I also, but yeah,
That actually,
I've seen
yeah.
it so like consistently that like this information has been pulled from somewhere. This isn't just something a random group of people has made up.
Yeah.
Surely,
Right. I
Maybe,
think it's
I don't
actually
know.
spectator. Well, I'm not sure what the professional term for it is, but it's like people that are eyeing the market and seeing what's going to happen. A lot of people are saying, yeah, GTA 5 is most likely going to be $100.
6.
GTA 6.
Six. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was $100. Man,
Yeah.
no wonder I didn't buy it. It just makes me very curious as to what the PlayStation 6 and whatever
Oh,
the new
God.
Xbox console. They've talked about it a bit. They're gonna make it like a hybrid PC type console because it's owned by
Yeah.
fucking Microsoft
Yeah.
Windows. They've already done like so much to have it like work together with like Windows. Like Xbox Game Pass is on Windows.
Yeah.
Mm.
And all of their games are on Steam and on Windows at this point. That they're like trying to make them like a part of the same thing. So their next console that they're going to put out is going to be like a PC console,
Right.
Mhm.
if that makes sense. It'll probably run Windows or something,
Right.
or like a Windows adjacent thing. So that's going to be a whole thing, and it's probably going to be expensive because PCs are expensive.
True.
And then PlayStation, I don't know if you two remember when the PlayStation 3 came out, they are not afraid to make things really overpriced
Yeah.
and like
yeah.
oversell their product. So I'm just if Nintendo, the infamously relatively cheap, like family friendly console is charging $80 for Mario Kart, I am
That's
afraid.
the low ball.
I am afraid of what the more expensive adult consoles are going to do, because they're probably going to release within the next couple of years. It's around that time,
which would be really shocking because like I feel like Nintendo's the only one that's really given us games recently, because like the PS5 and the Xbox haven't really put out.
They haven't had a lot of like
exclusives. Yeah,
not a lot of exclusives, and not a lot of like new exclusives in particular. Like we're in like a media drought, like in general, where there's just nothing new. It's all remakes and remasters and.
Do you think we've
covers.
reached a cap of like innovation and creativity in that aspect?
Okay, that's a great question. I think that the current media landscape has hit a point where
Media landscape.
Yeah.
Phrase.
Sorry.
Ooh.
Oh no, the academic the academic has come out. And
Media
the
landscape.
modern day media landscape. I think the problem. So there's two ways to go about this.
Okay.
One is that we've hit an actual wall where we've created so much media that it is almost impossible to come up with something new, which I don't think is true. I think that there's an infinite way to. I don't think that's like even possible.
Sure.
Most quote unquote new things are inspired by old things. Like it's kind of an infamous thing in like Western songs where you'll be playing a new song by a popular artist, and then someone who's like 60 years old is like, oh, that sounds exactly like a song from the 50s, because they just use that old song as like a sample or whatever.
Yeah.
But the new song is still different and its own thing. I think that there's an infinite amount of iterations and an infinite amount of new things that you can make, especially in games that are so like multi.
Yeah,
media.
that might be true, but I feel like I think what we've done is that all the low-hanging fruits have been picked, and so as a result, there are many branches on this tree, and all the low-hanging fruits from every branch has been picked. Now, you can pick other apples that are, of course, on that tree, but it's very unlikely that there are going to be many firsts left. Like, how many new branches are there? How many new firsts will we find? I'm not sure we'll find any more. If we do, there are, of course, an infinite number of games that are potentially available in the future, but they will be when those games come out, whatever they are, they will be compared to previous games that have already been published that are probably going to be relatively similar to them, right? The wide diversity, the wide creativity that was we've probably gotten most, if not maybe 95% of those sort of like broad, like creative ideas. And now we're like taking those ideas, maybe developing it. There are probably a million, billion, trillion different ways of having niche kind of differences, this and that. But it's done. And I would compare this. This is in fact an anime podcast. Bring this back to isekai.
Yeah.
Isekai, the idea, has existed for a while. Now everyone knows it, and I think we are now just experimenting with how far can you take this? We do it this way, do it this way. What if the man was a fucking vending machine? We're just taking that and running with it, but the idea, the concept of an isekai has been done.
Yeah.
And it's unlikely that there is going to be that kind of new genre being invented anytime soon.
See, that brings up the other scenario that I was going to talk about, where like we have exhausted the ideas in these genres and the types of things that we've already created. I will give an example. Platformers. or isekai. Hell,
Sure.
anything. Platformers, while they are like a very broad like demographic of game, there are a bajillion platformers. Mario's a fucking platformer.
Sure.
It's like one of the
Right.
most popular. People, you gotta stop to consider platformer being a major game genre is kind of weird because a platformer is very weird, specific, like genre of you have a character that moves around and jumps onto platforms. What? That's
Yeah.
the one of the most popular game genres of all time, or like fighting games, which are almost always 2D, one on one, and it's like a flat like 2D plane where you move side to side.
Yeah.
Like, I think part of the issue is that we've boxed ourselves into genres too much.
Well,
For
someone
example,
has
in isekai,
right.
like isekais are great, but
Someone has to really think completely out of the box, and this
Yes.
is not unique to games.
No,
this is not
this
even
is-
unique
this
to
is
media.
media
We
and-
this is not even media. We see this in a lot of things. This is going to go really out of base for a second there.
science,
Yeah.
academia.
So, name me. There are very few. Like, how do we generate electricity? There are very few ways that generate electricity. Not because we turn a fucking wheel. Because we turn a turbine with water. Okay. Very few things. Coal, oil, nuclear. It's all
it's
about.
all water boiling.
It's all water boiling and turning a stupid turbine.
Right.
The one exception is wind is still a fluid turning a turbine. The one exception
Oh.
is solar.
yeah,
That is the only exception I can think of.
yeah.
Right? Where it's like photovoltaic cells are like capturing energy or whatever. Everything else is like some kind of fluid, either generally water or I guess wind, is
Yeah.
turning a wheel and we're taking the wheel and turning it into electricity.
Yeah.
Photovoltaic cells were crazy because that was more recently invented.
What
That
is
is it's solar panels.
Oh, okay.
It is new, and it completely has nothing to do with water.
Yeah.
And it's just a new way to generate electricity. That is something that's original thought right there. How many more of those kind of thoughts are we going to have when it comes to electricity making? And it's like, that is something we have. Again, it's not just media. It's not even just electricity making. This is a broad thing where when something works, it's very different. You created a box around yourself, and it's like, this is the way to do it. And
Yeah.
it's very difficult to think outside of that framework. And it takes an incredible amount of creativity and a stupid amount of brain power to think outside of that framework.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And I think that is the major issue with like media in general, including games, including anime, is that, for example, isekai. Isekai, being like its own genre, is kind of odd because, I don't know, I feel like early isekais, you would just be like, oh, this is a fantasy anime. Just because they went to another world, it's just like whatever. But then it caught on, it became its own genre. And that being like its own genre, it's been put into its own box. And now when you think of isekai, it's you go to another world, it's usually fantasy. It's usually one guy, main character, meets up with fantasy people and they do wacky escapades.
Yeah.
It's like, this is such a specific genre. And yes, there are iterations. You can make the main character a fucking vending machine.
Right.
You can make him incredibly cautious to the point that it's just he's
You
just
can
a
have
very odd person.
You can have isekai with cell phone.
Yeah.
You can have isekai with
you can
Portal.
You can isekai
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
into the future. You can
So
isekai
they're
Demon
having
Lord.
all of these like variants, and they're like really. I recall a very old conversation I had. This is like, anime exists because it fills a niche. These are all niches.
Yeah.
The genre exists. The tree of anime, the tree, the biological, tree of life, the tree of anime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On this branch, there are many different niches to be filled. Each branch, each little sub branch, or whatever you want to call it, exists because it's a gap that needs to be filled,
Yeah.
right? And you can fill it as much as you want, but there should be other branches.
Yeah.
Are there other branches? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I think this is at least partially a symptom of like, this is gonna get like fucking insane, like globalization and like social media becoming so prominent and everyone like being able to share everything at all times.
Oh, I see.
Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
yeah.
Yeah.
So there is no longer a chance for you to have like your own
An
thoughts.
original thought.
Yeah, because you're like bombarded with unoriginal thoughts, so you do not have like the space to think of an original. For example, if you are trying to make a new song, and in order to prepare, you listen to an artist, the things that you then think up are going to be almost identical or like very similar to the songs you just listened to, because those are what's fresh in your mind, and it's just difficult to think creatively when you've like processed someone else's original or unoriginal thoughts. And we are stuck in this zone of constantly like listening to other people's music and playing different games. We've just lost the opportunity to think creatively, I guess.
I think that maybe our kind of bubble that we're stuck in, I think that we're especially stuck in a rut in America, American like media, I think, because we're very obsessed with IPs, where I feel like a lot of other
Japan is worse, at least in some ways.
You think so?
Well, Nintendo's rigorous when it comes to that.
Nintendo is just a symptom of Japan's
Broader.
and they're way more strict with copyright.
Right.
But you're right that we have it bad too.
Yeah, but
that's
like,
why most bootleg games are from.
But see, there is
a
a nuance there. They're really stringent on copyrights, like Nintendo and whatnot. There's symptoms. You're right.
Yes.
But then conversely, Japan also has a crazy doujinshi culture,
Right.
An original fan work and art culture that is supported by the original content creators. You will never Toho as an industry would not exist without original fan art. I mean, who's going to copyright that? I'm not even sure you can be copyrighted.
It's like they have stringent copyright laws, but people are not as like protective of their copyright aside from like really large companies,
right?
As they are here.
And
like here, even like indie people are like very protective in general.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah.
Whereas in Japan, like original creators like mangaka or like indie game devs, they're like, I'm glad that you like my game. Fucking do whatever you want. I'm not going to copyright you.
Right.
And
Because
they don't.
what they realized is that the fact that people are taking their game and running with that idea is the best form of promotion that they will ever have.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they want that promotion. Yeah, go make a separate game for this. Make a whole line of this. Make as many crazy manga strips as you want of this character that I invented. Run with it, because that it will spread far beyond the original content that the original creator of that media or character will ever make in his or her lifetime.
Yeah, it's like
Right.
Miku culture.
It's like
Miku
Miku
culture.
culture. Miku
Miku
has
culture is
transcended.
insane.
Yeah.
Does anybody even know who owned Miku? I don't know.
I think it's Sony.
Is it
I think
Sony?
Sony made a voice bank for her, and it's just like, here's a cool
Yeah.
test thing that we made, and then everyone's like,
Everyone just runs
I like
with
this
it.
a lot. We're going to make
We're-
this
Yeah.
entertainment this. It's just so Miku is
think
so
that-
far separated from what they were
Right.
before, but they're more popular.
There's a
and
movie
they make
now.
way more money.
There's a movie
than they ever
coming
had.
out in like a
Yeah.
month.
I think I really like the ecosystem that they have in Japan, Korea, and similar, because I feel like they have more of a creator ecosystem compared to America, where I feel like America is very, like I was saying earlier, I feel like it's very driven by IPs and like what specifically a few companies put out. But I feel like in Japan, like it's very reliant on the creator, and they take the creator's idea and turn it into something put out by a larger company, like an anime or something.
I feel like manga is a good example of this.
Right,
'Cause
right.
What is our equivalent of manga? It's comics.
Right.
There's only two major comics that people care about. It's Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
And it's always and it's run by the same people.
Yeah.
And it's always the same characters. And this is why comics are dying, is because comparing it to manga, almost every manga is a
manga's
different
way more
thing.
Yeah.
diversified.
And in Japan, there are a lot more companies for
There are
everything.
more
Yeah.
companies.
And
they're individual creators.
Yeah. And I think the other example would be very recently, the other example would be Korea and Shenzhen.
Yeah.
Shenzhen's the other example in China. But it's that sort of like indie and also like, it's not the right word here, but like mom and pop, but it's not mom and pop. It's like basically like small groups that are able
Circles.
small
Like Type Moon and
and the small little circles that like are able to produce their own works. There's a market for that. There's
Yeah.
a space for that, and they can exist and they can sustain themselves.
Yeah.
And
Right,
it's
right.
from those sort of circles that they can eventually grow and develop and produce more games that are even better than their predecessors. And that is, for whatever reason, missing here in the
Yeah.
U.S. I don't know why. I don't know why that's the case. The only explanation that I could come up with when I was first thinking about this was like, maybe it's because Japan, Korea, Shenzhen are very dense, and there are whole districts that are dedicated to tech and gaming and media. And so people are able to organize themselves more effectively. They're able to meet people more effectively. If you just live in that vicinity, you're able to meet constantly and eventually develop social groups and organizations that would eventually have fostered those sort of like indie dojin circles, right?
Could
That's
you
really
imagine
interesting.
it all stems from our infrastructure?
yeah.
Yeah,
and
it all
culture.
stems
It'd
from
be
our
so
infrastructure.
sad.
No, it really does. Because I mean, and I think this is crazy. Think about it. Where are all the startups in the US? Most of them.
They're in like
Los
Cali and
Angeles.
They're
Texas
all
Yeah.
and
they're
Seattle.
all SoCal. What do
Yeah.
you know about SoCal? It is dense. It is a
Yeah.
city, right? There's shitty infrastructure, but it is
Right, right.
infrastructure.
yeah, true.
The shittiest in the world.
Yeah, I even think about that because, like, I guess a more internet brain where I'm like, oh, an internet group comes together and make this, but like,
Right.
it's definitely very
Like,
physically
people-
where you're at.
You need to exist there. You cannot produce games at a con, right?
Yeah.
People don't go to Comic-Con to produce games and like they meet people, but you're there to show work. You have already met these people most likely, and so you're there to make connections, no doubt. But a lot of them are just made because they find themselves anyways because they're just living in that space together, and that does not exist. Most like 95% of the U.S. does not have that kind of space. SoCal is the barely an exception to that, right?
Yeah,
And so yes, it all comes down to our stupid infrastructure.
it is very centralized in like mainly 3 areas in the U.S. and the U.S. is huge, so I feel like a lot of people, if you're not in those areas, you kind of miss out on that.
Right.
You're
And
right.
then and I also feel like it might be like bringing it on like back to like physical media things.
Mhm.
A lot of like fan made things are sold as like doujinshis, like physical like books, like maybe not so much for games, but I feel like a lot of the time when you're making these individual things, selling them at cons, you're selling a physical product.
Yeah.
I feel like it might partially be our here in America.
Yeah.
We have like a weird aversion to buying physical media.
Yeah.
I feel like that might also be a part of it.
Yeah. So I have a question for you then.
Okay.
Are we in Japan?
Yeah.
People do not, or a lot of people watch their anime
Mhm.
on TV. It's just
Yeah.
nationally streamed,
Which is very funny to me.
which is crazy,
Yeah.
dude. Me when I watch,
Piece.
One Piece on the screen,
It's
or
been
or
30
like
years.
Yeah.
Me when I watch the craziest like rom com
Yeah.
or rom dram on screen. It's just like what is happening? National television, but here in the U.S., it's all streaming services. Right,
Yeah.
it's either legal like Funimation and Crunchyroll. Well, for Funimation, Crunchyroll,
Yeah.
Just Crunchyroll and Netflix.
Crunchyroll and Netflix of all things. Anyways,
Yeah.
and then streaming websites, the quote unquote other streaming
Yeah.
websites,
The
that-
other
the
variety.
other variety,
Yeah.
that
Superior variety.
that
Right.
all rip it off of Netflix and Funimation. And so my question is that are these streaming services that have made it convenient for people to discover anime manga here,
Mhm.
has it also been killing it?
Yes.
Possible.
Yes, dude. Thank you, dude. Straightest answer.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Like, yes, it has made it discoverable, but it is it is traded off, like being able to find it in the first place,
Yeah.
to it becoming like a culture here,
Yeah.
Right.
and like
But
being able to
see,
purchase
it's
it.
too big.
The thing is, though,
I
is
don't
that I agree with you, but I cannot agree with you. Because I'll
Because
tell
what is the alternative?
Because what is the alternative? Because there's no place. Blockbuster is dead. Where are you going to
I
go?
miss it. I miss it though.
You can go. You
I
can
mean,
go to
yeah.
Washington. I think they have the last.
They have like
one.
one.
No, it's the last
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
They're like it's like held up because their community members are like based.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But that's what it is. Like people will not go to a video store. Not like it even exists anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they will not go to their video store and look at a title that says "How Minutes to Mars" and like, oh my god, Destruction of Mars. I'm
Yeah.
totally going to buy this.
Yeah, I feel like a big part of it is people are averse to purchasing media they don't know. If that
But
makes sense.
the problem is that it's very possible that the media that they get, because it's a randomized selection, they may get something they probably wouldn't like anyways, and they're like, all media in this format is this way. Because imagine you get something that's really shit, or just something you just not again. Remember, there it is on Blockbuster, Destruction of Mars, sitting there,
Yeah.
Mal 1.9 review.
Yeah.
And you get it, watch it, and you're like, oh my god, this is trash. Who in their right mind would watch anime?
Right.
Yeah.
You put it down and you never pick up another copy again, despite the fact that good titles like FMAB, Freyrin,
Yeah.
God forbid Attack on Titan, and those good titles are right next to it, but you assume they're all the same, right?
Yeah.
That sort of discoverability. Sorry, I'm like
Oh no,
going
that's
around.
cool.
That sort of discoverability that has come, especially today, because of short form media, because of streaming and YouTube clips,
Yeah.
that has made it popular on apps that you can consume hundreds of hours per week
Yeah.
of media on YouTube, TikTok, Insta. You would never, no one would have discovered it otherwise,
Right.
right?
I
would not have discovered it.
yeah.
We've
feel
sacrificed the deeper culture for the surface level
But
popularity.
the question is that did that deeper culture ever exist? Did it?
Not
Because
here.
it never existed here, because it's not like it's only unique to anime. No other
Yeah.
gaming culture is like that. Or sorry, no other media culture has escaped the streaming culture that anime is now imbibed in here in the US. Who buys any TV series here in the US?
No one.
No
other
one.
Than, other than like
Right.
collectors, nobody.
Everyone
Yeah.
talks about having a Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus subscription. No one buys. When was the last time you bought a Disney movie?
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Well, I'm the wrong person to ask.
You're the
this
wrong
question.
person.
yeah.
I besides you two, I don't know anyone who's bought a
Yeah,
Disney
like
movie
the average
Yeah.
person.
except for at some garage sale where they
Yeah.
got it for $5 because you're throwing it away or
And then
something.
I
Yeah.
feel like the last bastion of this is gaming, but gaming is going down this direction
Because-
because of all the online stores. Steam, nobody buys like PC games other than on Steam and Epic Games
Right.
if you're an idiot. Like those are the only ways you can get PC games.
Right.
Nobody sells them physically.
Right.
Like consoles are the only things that have physical games on them, and even then, they're migrating away from them.
And so the reason why I'm bringing this up is that because if we want to have indie culture here in the US, there's no way to like advertise yourself
Yeah.
unless you're already on those platforms. You would have to put yourself on Steam, on God forbid, like other places like
Epic Games.
Epic Games. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what you would have to do because
Yeah.
Ubisoft Origin.
soft business people, small business or small groups cannot advertise themselves, and God forbid they put themselves on Amazon at the end.
Yeah.
I,
Amazon Games.
I do feel like I kind of miss the old anime culture. I feel like because I feel like it's become so pervasive. I'd say that it kind of lost a lot of its charm of it being kind of like a thing that you went out of your way for a lot of times. Like I feel like streaming has definitely kind of like taken a lot of that uniqueness away from it because it kind of feels like not this is kind of like a self-deprecating thing, but I kind of feel like back in the day you kind of had to be more on the weirder side of entertainment to kind of fall into that. But now it's so
Pervasive. It's
pervasive, yeah.
generalized.
Anime used to be a niche within a niche.
Yeah.
Like back then, watching cartoons or reading comics as an adult was considered really nerdy. And then
Right.
anime was this tiny subsection of like foreign content
Right.
that
Yeah.
pray that there's an English translation at all, let alone
Yeah.
like a dub or anything. So it was this super niche thing that you were like, you found yourself in, and you could be like almost proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was still like nothing was lost yet to
Right.
popularity, to localization, however you feel about that.
Yeah.
Which is
now
controversial.
every like
But-
Gen Zer with broccoli hair has
But
watched
now
One
everybody
Piece.
knows Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Naruto. Everybody knows Demon Slayer, and it's like, it's almost not even niche anymore.
It's
Like,
not. It's not
It's
niche.
not
It's
at all.
it is part of mainstream
like
culture. now.
if it's more popular than even like Marvel comics. Aside from the movies, nobody consumes Marvel
Right.
or DC.
Right.
Like manga is more popular than like Western comics.
yeah, Barnes and Noble doesn't even sell comics in
yeah,
the store.
and it has
really.
a manga section.
Yeah.
Right.
There's like one shelf out of like the 7 manga
But see-
shelves.
So let me probe you a bit more on that. Are you saying this is a bad thing, right? Why do you think this is a bad thing? That this has sort of become a lot of these mainstream shows have become more ubiquitous
Mm.
in at least the U.S. culture at this point. Well, why is that a bad thing?
Could you repeat the question? Sorry.
Okay, so okay. Sorry. Okay, so you this frankly is a pre-COVID, post-COVID sort of phenomenon.
Honestly,
Right,
it
right.
is.
People got bored and they just decided to watch all of Netflix, and One Piece happened to be on that
Yeah.
list.
Mhm.
What is
and-
this Demon Slayer thing?
What is it?
And
Oh
now,
my God.
and now we're here.
Yeah.
It started. Anyways, I was about to say it started with watching Train to Busan on like people watching live action but Korean stuff, and then
yeah.
they watch slowly fell down a hole, and
Yeah.
then
What is
people
this-
discover.
what is
What's
this
your
Terrace
first
House
subtitle
thing?
piece of media?
Oh, anyway, okay. Anyways,
Wait, what?
It's Terrace House. It's anyways, as you were saying.
Anyways, so a lot of people have discovered anime, indeed, like the big anime, basically, like Demon Slayer, One Piece, Pokemon, all like these sort of things have become ubiquitous in the mainstream culture. You say it's a bad thing. Why?
It's great for business, but I feel like it's bad for culture because I feel like it's going to be run into the ground and kind of like it'll become stale. And I feel like that a lot of people that are kind of marching into this fandom don't really understand Japanese culture and really want to critique and pick it apart. Especially like
Yeah.
they kind of just look at One Piece or like any anime and like if it's not like shonen, like the shonen of the month, they pick it apart and say, "Oh, this is weird. This is creepy. I don't understand this part of Japanese culture and like all these tropes."
I will drop one word, and it is exactly what you're describing. It is homogenization.
Yeah,
Sure.
Things when one thing and another thing become mainstream, they inevitably become more similar.
Mm.
Yeah.
If it's consumed and created and altered by the same people, inevitably they will converge. And
Yeah.
that is what is happening with anime. It is through even just through like localization.
Mm.
It is being adapted into our culture. And
Sure.
what some people like it, some people don't. I'm not going to get into that argument because it is a whole thing. But it will inevitably slowly change both anime like originally and also after it has made its localization here, it will change anime into being more Western.
Right. And I
Therefore
don't want
losing
that.
whatever original culture, quote unquote, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever
Can
magic
you-
that was there before.
Is there an example you can give of a homogenized anime that's like sort of
Uh,
been merged?
For me, it's the new Devil May Cry anime, where it feels incredibly Western and very like
But
meant for the global market.
But it is an American anime.
Yeah, but like it's like it doesn't really understand the tropes of anime or what it's like recreating because it makes all these like statements on real world events happening that I don't really feel like. That's kind of the reason I go to anime is because I don't want to hear about real world events. And then when Dante makes a statement on the stock market or whatever.
Oh
I
my!
mean-
Wait, did they actually?
No,
Okay.
they,
That'd be crazy,
I
dude.
wish that was
I'm not
real.
sure if they.
Yesterday's episode be like, what?
Yeah,
Oh no.
I'm not sure if I should directly mention what they like are talking about
Okay,
in Devil
okay,
May Cry
okay.
because it's a very contentious subject.
Sure.
Oh.
But they make a direct reference to it, and I'm just like, man, this just doesn't feel like an anime. Like Netflix definitely says they did this with Castlevania 2, where they say it's an anime, but it feels very Western. I don't like that.
There's one example that I will bring up that was a big deal when it came out. No one talks about it anymore because no one cares. The dub for Dragon Maid,
Oh yeah,
I think specifically season 2.
Okay. The dub, English dub.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was localized through the dub, of course.
Mhm.
The subbed version was fine. The captions, I believe, were
Sure.
relatively unchanged. But when they recorded the dub, it was either the voice actors or the like team behind the dub. I think it was Crunchyroll.
It was Jamie
probably
Marchi,
Crunchyroll.
I think that.
Oh,
It
okay.
was kind of like an ad lib from that voice actress from Lucoa. The one
Yeah,
you're
but she,
about to-
yeah, that's the infamous quote. But
Mm.
there were more than just that person behind it. That had to be okayed by a whole team of localizers and dubbers. There
Yeah.
were other voice actors in the room with her, I am sure, where they inject like Western politics into the show, like Western, like specifically American, like feminist talking points,
Sure.
and like. I hate to say it like this, but there is really no other way to describe it. Like
Uh-oh.
American, like North American, quote unquote woke culture.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
It's rough.
It was placed into the show. Whether or not people liked it doesn't matter because it wasn't in the show. It has
Right.
been irreversibly
Superimposed,
changed
yeah.
in the dub.
I think the
That
name
was
of
not
this
here to fit an American's perspective.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think the name of this episode should be Jars Goes Woke.
No.
No.
Jars gets political.
and
JARScast gets
so
political.
There, I have two options of how I want to take this conversation, and I don't know which way to do it. And I'll do
Both
it.
are bad.
I'll do both.
Uh-oh.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm going to split. I'm going to pray that I can remember my second point.
So we're gonna take the stance of this political party.
no,
and
no,
this
no.
political-
Yeah, and combine them. So
Oh.
now both people hate
Now
me.
everyone
Yeah.
hates us.
No, everyone. So, two things. I think So, the reason why I bring this up, asked you the question of whether or not generalization, not generalization, the
Homogenization.
not homogenization, the
Mainstream.
mainstreamization of anime in the broader American culture is
First
a good thing
guess.
or not, is because it's mainstream in Japan. Everyone in Japan reads One Piece.
And by that, it is
Yeah.
everyone.
Everyone is reading. It's not like this weird thing that like some people are reading. No, everyone. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of very normal businessmen and workers and industry workers and
I mean,
you know-
why do you think most anime nowadays is almost targeted at that demographic?
yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
anime
right.
is targeted towards business. Sync.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just
Cinco-san reference.
it is
Let's
everywhere,
Yeah.
right? And so, despite that it being everywhere, within that culture of being everywhere, there's a fraction of that population that is more invested in that culture than the rest of the population. And it's to that particular percentage that the rest of the Japanese population refers to them as otaku.
Right.
Or,
Just nerd.
Nerd, right?
Geek.
And that's a derogatory term,
It's
right?
a derogatory
Yeah.
term, but it's like
less so. It's the same. It's taken the same form as nerd has essentially. Where
Yeah.
you can say as like, huh, you're a nerd, but it's not really an insult necessarily
yeah, it's
anymore.
not. And,
It's just a state of being.
And I feel like it's a lot more like quote unquote insulted in English than it is in Japanese.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like you're obsessed with it. Like, like really common is like train otaku, right? Like
Yeah.
So
I
you're just
dress
like
up
obsessed
darling
with
otaku.
my
Yeah.
dress up darling otaku.
Otaku it can mean anything. It's not specifically anime.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's that, and then the other thing about like having those conversations on, God forbid, the forbidden platform, where you have
Reddit, but worse.
Reddit, but
Yeah,
worse.
yeah.
And anonymous.
Anonymous.
Reddit, but with racism.
Oh, no.
Reddit is okay. Anyways, where we have people seeing this media for the first time, critiquing it with their own moral value systems and picking it out. It was going to happen anyways, right? At some point, it was going to happen that when something becomes popular enough, it reaches some threshold where it just like soars, it accelerates, it exponentially grows.
Singularity.
Is that actually what it's called?
Well,
Singularity?
I mean, you can use it in that way where something hits a singularity point where it then explodes.
It's like a threshold point.
Yeah.
Right? So mass threshold. And so it was going to happen anyways. Would you not want to have those conversations where if it's going to happen anyways, would you not want to have those conversations now where you can still it's still new and you can sort of still
Steer where things
steer things and
Yeah.
convince people, because remind you, there's still 150 million Japanese people there.
Yeah.
There's still some probably 10 million weebs in this country.
Right.
And
We're growing.
and probably 30 million across Latin America.
Yeah.
So
And a billion in India.
let's not go there. I don't think it's even more than 1 million.
Really?
In India? No.
Interesting.
Anime watcher? Anime has just started in India.
I see that.
But
They
what
must
about
just be really
Doraemon?
terminally online then, because I see
Yeah.
lots of.
They're
Yeah.
just it's
I don't know.
not to say that they don't watch anime. The anime that they watch it's all the normie anime. They watch Doraemon and Shinchan.
That's true.
That's what
Okay.
it is. It's
That-
all
yeah.
Doraemon and Shinchan Hindi dub.
I cannot say why I know this, but I do know for a fact that they love Doraemon.
Dude, I love Doraemon.
I mean, everyone loves
Isn't
Doraemon,
he
but-
based off of like a Hindu god or something? Like
Who?
Doraemon?
Doraemon?
I don't know. Maybe.
Like I saw like this meme.
I thought it was a Japanese god.
I'm not sure, but like I saw this meme where it was like there's this wall in India and one of the figures looks exactly like Doraemon or something.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Something tells me that's just a meme. But
I don't know.
yeah.
I'll have to look it up.
I would also have to look. I don't know. But Doraemon, Shinchan, when I grew up, I went to India. I stayed there for an extended period of time.
Right.
And I thought that Doraemon, Shinchan, and Sonic were Indian cartoons.
Indian.
Because they were all speaking Hindi.
Which
Right.
is Sonic?
Sonic X, Underground.
Yeah, Sonic X, I think. I'm not sure.
Faster.
Yeah.
Running at the speed of sound.
Yeah.
With the kid, like it's the kid and Sonic's in like the
Yeah,
human
with the
world
brown
and shit,
hair,
yeah.
backwards
Yeah.
blue cap.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen this.
So, and then when it came to the US and saw it on like Disney XD, and then I
Yeah.
saw Sonic, I was like, oh my God, they translated it from Hindi. That's crazy.
Yeah, back when TV shows existed.
That's back when
Yeah.
TV shows existed, right? So, anyways,
They put
so
RRR on Disney XD. That's crazy.
that would be crazy.
That would be awesome.
Anyway, so that already exists, but I feel like we need to have, it's not a bad thing that those conversations are happening. It's an eventual thing that was going to happen. Our responsibility now is to have those conversations so that my guess is that with every progressive generation, it will slowly change. A lot of those people that are complaining are not the generation that the media is directed towards anyways.
Right.
Right. I don't suspect that the Gen Z, millennials, and alpha at this point are really
and beta. At this point,
beta.
they're
is
real.
6
Beta
months.
males.
It's like not even 6 months. It's like 4 months.
They're consuming
old.
anime through their parents.
Yeah.
Who are
Leave them alone. They're
Gen Z.
4 months old.
I think
But-
that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I really like. Well, this is gonna be a very cat dream thing to say, but I feel like something that's kind of like more frowned upon with like these newer anime. The new anime tourists coming in as fan service. I feel like that's going away. I kind of don't like that that's happening. But like I feel like there's some things that are like holding that up, like Nikkei and stuff like that.
To be fair, I feel like fan servicey types of things, even in Japan, are sort of viewed as like the more otaku thing to like.
Right.
It's just that instead of getting rid of it, they just relegated it to the the proper people and just kind of let it be.
Right.
I think the biggest issue is the attempt to change or dispose of certain areas in media that I think the West has a problem with.
Yeah.
I feel like we should, in general, unless things are like downright like really bad, we should just let things be.
Yeah.
And whether or not it is successful can determine whether or not it should still exist.
Yeah, the worst part is
That is my humble
definitely like
opinion.
Western focus grouping, which I feel like might be affecting, which I worry might come for anime, because a lot of like Western media is very, very focus grouped, and like Disney Marvel movies where like it has like 10 writers and it's been focus grouped to shit, and now it's just like all Marvel movies are like the same flavor that comes out all the time. I'm kind of worried that might happen in anime where everything is going to be shonen flavor, like shonen slot flavor.
I guess so.
Mm.
I feel like that's part of the reason why I'm able to connect with manga and anime so much.
Mm.
At least in part because it's like you get to connect with an author. Manga is almost always one, maybe two authors.
Right.
And you can track the teams who animate anime, and you can track who wrote the originals. Like, it's all very personal in comparison to Western media, which usually has an invisible team of writers with an invisible team of executives and all sort. It's just all too big and too untrackable.
Yeah.
There's no personality behind the things we make.
Right. I feel like everything in Western media is very bubble wrapped, but like a lot of things in Japanese media aren't bubble wrapped, and you have to kind of take them how they are. I feel like.
Right. That I just remembered because I knew I was going to forget. The other half of the question was directed towards you. So you mentioned something about homogenization, or actually, rather, I'm taking a tangential to that. You mentioned that there were anime that were dubbed in English that had to change a lot of the way that they presented themselves because it would not be understood by the average North American viewer. And so my question is something that we've actually hinted at before, but I don't think we've actually had a proper discussion on, is the nature of localizations in anime, right? And I think that is, and I think that, like, you know, for example, there's like two extremes to this. There's like the localizations, for example, like what you said in Kobayashi,
Right.
where it's, you know, very questionable whether or not their localization was a good thing or not.
Yeah.
And then there's the localization such as ghost stories.
Right.
Yeah.
I have to bring that up, where it's just
of
like
course.
unequivocally just hilarious and was so much better
More
received.
interesting.
Yeah. I'm
By-
actually. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm actually taking a class about localization. I feel like that the Dragon Maid one is especially malicious because it's like saying something that the author never said. It's like taking a political stance.
Well, I mean,
that they never said.
I do believe most of Ghost Stories was not intended by the original.
But like, but that's like that's like an obvious flip. Like it's a parody where Dragon Maid, they're presenting this as the genuine product, and then you hear someone else's political opinion that's speaking on behalf of the author. I feel like that one's particularly malicious.
But you're saying that for Ghost Stories, since everything was so obviously changed, it's fine. But in Dragon Maid, only small bits of it were altered in a way that they tried to hide the changes.
It's insidious.
Is that what you mean? Okay.
Yeah. Where I feel like there are
But
some times where
at what point?
Where
Where do you draw the line?
Well, I was about to say, where do you draw the line? And I'll give you a more relative thing. Forget Ghost Stories. Ghost Stories is so extremely. Just ignore that.
it's an
point.
exception.
There's a line somewhere between calling an onigiri a donut.
These.
I love these donuts.
Jelly filled are my favorite.
Right.
Well,
Or actually, no, there's a scale of like calling the number 8,000 9,000, which is innocuous.
Yeah.
Calling a onigiri a donut to changing the dialogue in a way that the author did not intention to be more palpable to the North American viewer go.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that there are some definite needed changes. Like I feel like that the onigiri example is definitely super silly because that's something that you might collide with because we're a very diverse country. Like you're definitely gonna see onigiri one time and you're not gonna think, oh, that's a jelly donut.
No, okay, but remember, this was in
That was
like
30
90s.
years ago.
This was in the 90s.
So
I don't
maybe
think
not.
anybody saw when I saw that episode live on TV. I had no idea what that was.
Right.
I have never seen it. I would not have seen it for another 10 years. I never saw an
Damn, I
onigiri.
didn't know June was 40 years old. Live on TV.
But
Okay, listen.
but
Okay,
I like how we're actively
here-
getting
here-
older.
Here's like a better
As we
example.
go on.
Here's a
I'm
better
in
example.
shambles and tears.
One that I do agree with is like one that I think of is from Persona 5. They changed a question in Persona 5. The question was about shogi, and then they changed it to
chess.
and then they changed it to chess.
Yeah.
Which
So-
I do agree with that localization because I don't know fuck all about shogi.
right. And so they changed it because they knew that the average audience member would not have understood that and probably would not have put in the effort to look up the rules for shogi.
Yeah.
So then the question is that in an anime such as Kobayashi, which has cultural contexts and norms that are outside the general purview of the average American, is translating that in a more palpable fashion good or bad, knowing that it's very unlikely that the average viewer has any knowledge of Japan and its cultural attitudes towards things.
Yeah, and I'll extend this to comedy in general. Most jokes are lost in translation. I feel like
Well, they have
almost
to.
the majority.
Well, they have to write
because-
up new ones.
Yeah, because most of them are like wordplay. Japanese comedy is generally just wordplay.
Yeah.
Which
You'll
I don't know if you know
understand
this.
the-
They have to change the words.
Yeah, you'll
And
never
so they lose.
understand the Hanakawa tongue
I think they
twister.
try really
They
hard.
try
like,
very
like,
hard,
I think
and I respect
I
that.
think there's a really the one I always think of when I think of wordplay is
it
the No Game No Life.
Oh.
Shiritori, which is basically a word chain game.
Oh yeah.
Where they have a bunch of words that they have to like the last letter has to be whatever the first letter of the next word be. So like
Which
for
we
exa-
do have here.
We have
so
here
like
too.
you have apple.
Mhm.
The next word has to start with an E.
So elephant.
So like elephant. So then the next word has to start with a T, and then it just goes on
and
and
a
on.
tomato.
And on.
But the thing is that they're doing it in Japanese.
So you're thinking
so
of
you-
syllables.
You're
Right.
thinking syllables, so then you have to figure out how to translate the word that they're saying into English and
Yeah.
simultaneously keep the word chain property
Yeah.
going. And I
Yeah.
think there is
Rewrite
a
the whole
sub
thing.
that actually did it
Wow.
somehow.
Wow.
I don't know how they did it, but they did it.
There's just like a paragraph of text on each
No,
line.
they didn't explain it. They
Oh.
found the words for most of them.
Wow.
That's
pretty cool.
That is pretty cool, right?
But like you can't, as much as that's awesome, you can't do that for everything.
You can't do that everything. They spent a lot of time
Yeah.
doing that. I know they did.
So
Um,
it's just like, at what point should someone has asked me this before, and is like, at what point should we expect audience members to just know Japan and Japanese, or just to mind go blank, translate everything? At what point should we find? At what point is fine? Because if it were up to me personally, I feel like I'd be at like a 7 of 10, where
Right.
you should be knowledgeable enough to like understand bits and pieces of
See,
Japanese
the thing
and
is,
culture.
though, is that we say that, but we're also very biased.
I was about to say, but then again, I'm biased because I've been in this scene for a decade.
Same.
and
Yeah,
also
yeah.
all of our, lot of our, not say all, but a lot of our friends are people who are also on the scene.
Yeah.
And so we have to really consider it from the perspective of someone who is blank,
Yeah.
who does not know Japan at all. Imagine
I'll
someone.
just picture like my dad.
Imagine your dad is watching No Game No Life.
I think I would commit die.
Commit-
I would leave my house and never
Seppuku.
return.
Delta would just off himself. That's
yeah,
it, folks.
I think it's over for me.
I would will myself out of existence.
Yeah.
I would disappear.
And it's just a tough call, because if it were up to me, I would make the barrier to entry a little higher. But first of all, that is not what is happening. That is not what will happen. Even if you want it to happen, it's not going to happen.
No.
So what do you do?
Well,
to try to do you even bother preserving anything? Do we just give up? What's the right move? Is there a right move? I don't know.
we will have to contend with the fact that there will be anime produced that is not Japonic in nature.
There already are.
There already
If
are.
anything.
I mean, well,
I mean,
all
there's
the American anime
Overseas produced ones: Avatar, DMC,
Well-
Castlevania.
Okay, so it's really funny to see overseas because we are overseas.
We are the overseas.
We
now.
are the overseas.
We
It's
are
just
We
the
are the
foreigners.
invaders.
It is just
we are the Portuguese invading.
so it's better off to like refer to it by national. But like, yeah, all the American ones. I think Avatar is probably the only exception. I would say because Avatar, I would say, still preserves a lot of the
preserves
Asian
a lot of
elements.
Mhm.
But like, sure, Castlevania or like, what was that?
Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry, or like, there's a couple of other ones that have been produced recently.
The Bengali originals.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like almost I keep using this phrase, anime adjacent like games, like League of Legends or
Yeah.
Overwatch,
Yeah.
which are
And they're
like
all
kind
normalized.
of anime-esque, but
Yeah.
they try very hard to not be in that culture.
Yeah.
Right, but
Right.
the style,
An art style only.
the art style is similar. It is a similar demographic. It's
Yeah.
very likely that anyone who is a League player probably has watched anime. And the music that they use, like what was it, Legends Never Die or whatever that is very. God, I know that.
Yeah,
It's
fine.
very like. It's almost it's directed towards that foreign anime watching audience. It's in that style,
Yeah.
right?
I agree.
Are you all League players?
No.
I might have to eject you from this podcast.
No, I'm not. I just like their
I will
music.
invoke the fifth to prevent self-incrimination.
I like the music.
Yeah.
I like the I hate the Imagine Dragons song. Oh, the misery.
Oh my
the-
god.
Was that a League thing?
That's a League thing. That's Arcane. That's the Arcane
Oh.
intro. I fucking hate that.
I forgot
song.
Arcane was a League thing. That's a
Yeah.
great example. Arcane. That's Western as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very Western storytelling.
But see, the thing is that we're going to see more of this and more of
Of
it.
course
Not
we are.
only from the U.S., from Korea,
Yeah.
from China,
Yep.
from other countries that are dabbling with it.
Yeah. And I will say,
one day, India will figure out what animation is.
yeah, I will
um,
say that is probably the one thing that I can say is a definite good is that we are finally taking animation seriously as like an art form for
Yeah.
all ages
Yes, it's
and adults
waking us up.
specifically.
Right. And that can only happen if the threshold to that entry is low because you're trying to target maximum population,
yeah.
right? Because in the end, it is a business.
I am a conflicted man.
It's very, yeah.
I
I hope it does make animation more taken more seriously in the West.
It already has, in
But-
my opinion.
Yeah,
But
yeah. But
we're
like
we're at the cusp of it. I
yeah,
think.
for
It's
like
that-
Arcane
the
is a great
huge
example.
anime
Right.
revolution that's
Yeah.
happening here.
it's just so interesting because I learned this in animation history class, but there was a really, really long period, like maybe 50 years, where animation was seen as strictly a child thing. But it didn't used to be like that because, like, we had the Flintstones, and the Flintstones would take, like, breaks where Fred Flintstone would pitch cigarettes to the viewer and be like, hey, you want some Lucky Strikes? But, like, I'm not sure, I kind of forgot what my professor said, but he said that there was, like, this shift where it was specifically geared towards children.
It's when they discovered animation could be used to market to children better.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The screaming color.
I hate to admit it, but that's just true. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It always comes down
Me
to
when
more
my
money.
Fruity Pebbles are
Yummy, yummy.
very brightly colored.
And when the characters in the Free Pebbles box want me to buy Lucky Strike cigarettes, when Bam Bam's like, "Hey motherfucker, you want some of this? You want
No.
you want some alcohol to go with it too?
Yeah.
Chill out, have some schnapps or
Oh
something."
my god.
But yeah. Yeah, there's it. Of course, there is pros and cons to all sides. We get good, we get bad. The question is, what good do you want and what bad do you not want?
I just
And
want
if
to.
it were up to me, if I were to be selfish, I do kind of miss the more exclusive era of anime,
Mhm.
the less mainstream era.
But then you were like an outcast then.
yeah, I don't.
still an
Like I said, I don't miss
outcast.
everything. There were still bad aspects of it, but like,
But see,
and
Okay.
consider it like this: the mainstreamization of it, the aspects of anime that made me an outcast are still being outcasted. They're just not being made anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, like, for example, I will bring up a very obvious, like, type of anime.
I'm scared now.
Kiss
Uh-oh.
X Sis.
Okay,
That
I see.
will get you outcasted regardless.
Kiss time sis.
Yeah, Hunter X Hunter.
Hunter x Hunter.
Like, that will have me outcasted regardless of era.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes. No. I see what your point is. Okay.
Thank you.
We will not further elaborate.
Yeah, I don't think it would be necessary to do so.
The JARS handler is gonna come in and restrain you for saying
Yeah,
kiss
the jar-
X sis or
the-
going in
the-
the basement.
The JARScast Shadow Monkey Ninja zombies from your
From
dreams
Cat
will,
Dreams.
yeah,
No.
yeah.
will appear and kill us all.
True,
And I think it would be a good time to do that because we are getting close to the end of.
but
of our time
to
here.
answer your question, I just want to keep my Nikkei brain rot. That's what I want.
Yeah,
I want my fan service brain rot.
I just want my indescribable anime vibes to continue.
Yeah,
And the vibes are dying, and I don't know how to explain it.
in all seriousness, I think that the thing that I want to retain is I want it to stay fantasy. Where like I don't want, because like the thing that kind of turned me away from the new Devil May Cry so much is that they look at the camera and directly say, "Oh, here's this allegory for a current political situation."
Well, you say that, but if you were looking at this from a Japanese perspective, a lot of anime do have those political takes. We just don't understand them because we do not live in the environment to which those are referencing.
yeah, but I feel like they have so much more tact with it. Like, Welcome to the AHK
Maybe.
has so much more tact than fucking.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
tough.
we will find ourselves in a situation where I think the beginning of the end will, or not end, but like, will be when we find that there are numerous Japanese anime being produced directed not towards a Japanese audience but to a Western one,
Yeah.
Mm.
because
That's the end.
that is the end.
That's the end.
Because what will happen is that it is very unlikely that any American animation studio will ever produce in the opposite direction.
Mm.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. It will always be in one direction.
Not anything. Not a large.
Not in any
production.
meaningful way.
Yeah, indies do. Indies actively do, but nothing
Yeah.
big, nothing major would ever
Mm.
go that way.
Yeah.
And as much as we may hate to admit it, the AAA game studios, the large production studios, Hollywood, they do control kind of where media goes.
Right.
Because in media, size does matter.
Yeah.
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 I do have some question.
Last one.
Oh well, no, a question from our audience. I think that
Oh.
it's very topical.
Okay, last one. We have to answer it very quickly.
Yeah. If you could go into any video game world, which one would you go into?
Oh, that's from left field.
well, we were talking about video games
Catcher,
earlier.
do you have one?
I would say Pokemon. Easy.
Honestly, not a bad pick. June, do you have one?
Which video game world?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the 2 video games, you know.
Okay,
Please
Delta.
pick.
Delta, go. I'll think on this.
See, I have the opposite issue. I have too many to pick from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say Genshin Impact or
No,
something?
no.
The Hoyoverse.
See, it's tough because I have to weigh fun versus imminent demise.
right.
Like, I couldn't pick Dark Souls because I would just be dead.
yeah.
But I don't want to pick like Mario because I just feel like the world would just
Maybe.
be a fake
Yeah.
plastic. I don't know.
That'd be a great
Um,
anime. You're in fake Mario world and you're going insane because everything's
Reincarnated
so
into a 2D platformer.
Yeah. That'd be great. I love that anime.
Yeah, I'd go to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 because then I could get a hot blade waifu.
True.
I cannot explain what that means to you.
You can get the
Bruh.
furry one.
No comment.
Okay.
Because genuinely, I don't know who you're referring to.
It's like the white cat one.
It's been a long time since I've played. Okay, June.
Okay.
You have
Like,
5
well,
seconds.
This is
go.
also gonna go
Game me.
left field. I'm gonna say SimCity 4
Okay, why?
because I don't know. I just really like the game, and I'm like, dude, I could be an actual. I hate. I'm gonna say this. It's like I could run
You could
a
be
city.
an NPC.
But-
oh,
I
you
could-
could be the mayor.
I can be the mayor. I can provide infrastructure. Oh my god, trains. I can build trains.
Okay,
But an
hope you are.
invisible god can make your entire
No, he is
world
the god.
collapse.
I am the god.
Okay, next
Okay.
JARS episode, we're gonna be shooting meteors at your city. Okay, bye.